everyone, it's Jessica. Thank you for coming by my channel today. I am participating in a video collaboration with my friends in the Makers with Heart group. So this month my friends and I are all focusing on projects that are things you could sell at a craft fair, for example. So what I wanted to show you was how I package my homemade cards, and I actually sell these at a downtown store where I live. So I'll talk a little bit more about how I do that later. But these are the two cards I'm going to create in the video. Now I did use the fun pull tab thin cut from Close to My Heart, and it's a lot of fun. It makes this cool interactive element on a card, and so I'll walk you through how to use that in this video. All right, so I am using mostly the On the Farm stamp set and thin cuts for these cute little animals. I did pull my happy birthday sentiment off of this set here, which is actually designed to work with those pull tab thin cuts. These are my papers. They're from the 6x6 Bright Stack. I just love how fun and colorful those are. And so I was able to get quite a few cards out of those 6x6 papers. And then here, of course, is the star of the show, the pull tab thin cuts, which really kind of look a little complicated, but are super easy to use. In using them, you definitely need to have some regular foam tape, not the thin, and I like the 3D foam dots as well. So I'm working out of an older pattern book. This is Make It From Your Heart Volume 2, and I am using patterns 25 and 26. Okay, let's begin creating this first card. So again, I'm going to show you how to use this fun interactive element here. And I will leave measurements for all of these paper pieces in the description box down below so that you can recreate this if you would like. So I've already gone ahead and used that thin cut set to cut out a couple of different pieces, mainly this big one right here, and then I'll talk about some of the other ones when we get to that point. Now you can see this big piece comes out with a bunch of different score lines on it, and we're going to want to fold those toward the back. So I just put it so that the right side is facing down on my mat, and then I'm folding them to the back and using my bone folder to really put those creases in there. I open it back up, and then using some liquid glue, I put a whole bunch of glue inside, and that way it definitely is going to be adhered down and turn into basically like a little stick is what it kind of reminds me of. I like to do this part first when I'm making these cards with the pull tab thin cut set because I want to make sure that that adhesive has a lot of time to dry and that this piece is really going to stay glued shut. So if I do it first and then I put it underneath something heavy, like here my stamping block, I just let it sit there while I work on the rest of the card. And again, I'll kind of talk about some of these other pieces when we get to that point of the card's assembly. So the next thing here is I want to talk about the little slits that you create to move your piece up and down. You have 3 different size options, so depending on the design of your card or how far you want your element to move, you really can kind of choose which size it's going to be, and that's up to you. So for this particular card, I am going to use that middle slit, and then here you can see, since I'm making a bunch of these cards because I want to take them into that store downtown to sell, I'm trying to be really efficient with my time. So what I'm going to do is create a little mask. This is one that I have done for the other card, and I still need to create my little mask for the card we're making here. And then that way I don't have to do all the measuring every single time I go to cut out another one of these pieces of white daisy cardstock for this slider piece. So this one right here that I'm creating, this is going to be my master, my one that I use over and over and over again to line up where that cut will be. So I am just measuring where that halfway point is and using my T-square ruler and my Versamat, I'm kind of letting that help me line that up straight. Then I use a little bit of washi tape to hold it in place, and I will go ahead and take that off camera and run it through my die cutting machine. And it ends up looking like this. So you can see that cut is out of the back on the back side. Now what I can do is just lay this over top of the pieces that I'm actually using on my card. I did have a little bit of adhesive on the back, so I went ahead and made sure to take that off. But then using some washi tape, I can just tack that little, that masterpiece over the top, and then it's just going to cut right through and already be in exactly the place that it needs to go. And this way, like I said, it's a lot faster to create a bunch of cut pieces of paper without having to always like fuss with the alignment each time. And there you can see it cut right through. So that was nice. My die cutting machine does cut through 2 pieces of cardstock, so you might just need to kind of fuss with yours if yours does not do that. Okay, I almost forgot I needed to cut out that little notch on the top as well. And you can see that did that here. It's got a fun little stitched detail on it. And that just makes it easier for the recipient of your card to grab a hold of this pull tab and move it up and down. So now we can start putting this together, and you're going to be amazed at how simple it actually is to do. So first I'll go ahead and get my pieces of pattern paper down here on my card base. I wanted to build it on a piece of glacier cardstock, so this is just cut to 4 1/4 by 5 1/2. And another reason that I did that rather than putting it directly on my card front was later I will add a little bit of stitching, and that way that the back side of my stitching can be hidden as well and have a clean inside. So I'll just go ahead and put these down. That bottom piece is up 3/4 of an inch from the bottom of my card, and then they just stack one on top of the other. Pretty quick and simple to do. And then, like I said, I do want to add a little bit of hand stitching here. This is something that for me takes probably, I don't know, maybe 7-ish minutes to do. But I think that it adds that extra little touch or wow factor. And since I am taking these in to sell, I want them to have a clean and simple look, something that's appealing to a lot of people, but also still has that something extra to it. And for me, I love hand stitching on my projects, so I'm always looking for something like this that I can add to my cards that I sell at the store. Just so, like I said, that they're not, too plain or too boring, but that they have that little extra wow factor to them. So that's the pull tab slider on this one and the hand stitching as well. It really only took a few minutes, and I enjoy doing it. And I can do a bunch of them while I'm sitting and watching TV as well and hanging out with my family. Okay, let's go ahead and start doing the fun part here, which is the slider. Okay, so now we've got that piece cut out and we've got our stick all glued together and it's nice and flat. There are a couple more score lines up at the top, so you're just going to take that innermost one and fold it over. And then the second one that is to the outside on either side and fold it back. When you do, it ends up looking almost like a little circle, or if you tilt it to this way, it looks like frog legs. That's the way I like to think of it and how I know I've done it correctly. And then you're going to take those 2 little circle pieces and kind of pinch them together, and they're going to come through the back side of your little panel that's got the slit on it, and then open them back up to that circle on the front side of it. And then you can see that that is what allows it to slide up and down. Now, because it's not really stuck together yet, it does kind of want to fall out a little bit. This is where those 3D foam dots are perfect. They are the exact size of that little circle. And I just find that it works so well just to grab one of those, stick it on there, and then it really holds that piece in place and it's not going to come out of that slit. Okay, now that other little piece that we cut out from the thin cut set is this tiny little tab that you might be wondering what it's for. This is going to be the band that basically holds our stick straight up and down and doesn't let it wobble from side to side. So I'm just gonna use a little bit of glue to pull it together, and then I'm gonna put a little bit of glue on one side of it, and then it is a band, so you should be able to slide that stick right through it, okay? And then I am going to push my slider element all the way down to the bottom of the slit. I'm going to hold that stick straight up and down where I want it to be, and then I'm going to give it a nice good push. And then you can't see that from the front side, so it really doesn't matter what kind of cardstock you cut that piece out of. It's just there to hold everything in place and keep it from wobbling from side to side. Okay, and now that really is almost all of it. It's that simple. It's so fun, and these are really fast and easy to make. Okay, before I put any foam tape on the back side, I do want to stamp my happy birthday sentiment. It came from this stamp set here, which is actually designed to work with this pull tab thin cut, so I definitely have lots of options. Now we need to put some foam tape on the back because we want to make sure that that sliding element has plenty of room to move. So like I said, I don't recommend the thin 3D foam tape for this. I like to use the regular thickness of it, and I just put it around in a U type of shape. You want to make sure that you have plenty of room for that piece to slide up and down, but otherwise it can go at the bottom and to either side of it. Okay, and then we'll just peel the protective backing off of all of that and go ahead and stick it down to our card front. Now, obviously you're going through a lot of foam tape, so if you are into fun foam, then this might be the kind of thing that you would also want to use some fun foam for. Okay, I'm going to put it right about here on my card front, and yep, the basic mechanics of it are all done and ready to go. See how easily that slides up and down? Okay, now all we have to do is decide what sort of animal we're gonna stick to the front of it. And I love this cute little goat. He's one of my favorites. I did a pig on my other card, but I think I'm gonna go with the goat for this one. Maybe the sheep. The sheep is cute too. The cow, oh my goodness, he's like a little chocolate milk cow. I love it. Nope, I'm gonna go with the goat because he is probably my favorite animal in this whole stamp set. Okay, just peel off the protective backing on that foam dot and stick him to it. And now he's gonna move up and down with that pull tab piece, okay? And then I'm gonna push it all the way down to the bottom and then cut off the excess at the top. There we go. Okay, and then just to make it a little bit easier, because I am envisioning this as more of like a kid's birthday card, and I know little kids might need a little bit of help, I did use a hole punch and then grab some more of that same embroidery thread that I used for my hand stitching, and I just kind of created a little extra place for somebody to grab and pull that pull tab thin cut up and down. Okay, now on my original card, I did have some silver glitter gems, but again, because I am making a bunch of these to sell in the store downtown, I also want to be as cost effective as possible in my supplies. So an alternate option that is much cheaper to do would be to use some stickles and to create your own little silver gems, okay? And then we'll set that aside and hopefully not touch it and smear those stickles. All right, and that's it. Let's go ahead and do the second card. And again, I'll go through a little bit faster this time just to show you how that pull tab thin cut works. And by the second time you do it, you're gonna find that you are an expert at it, and it really does go so quickly. So again, I'm gonna fold everything toward the back here on this bigger piece that we cut out with that set. Add a little bit of liquid glue to the inside, and then set it underneath something heavy to really let it dry and make sure that it's stuck down really well. And the very first time I created a card with this thin cut set, I thought, oh, this is impossible. This is going to be way too complicated. And by the time I got done with my first one, I was like, oh, that wasn't too bad. I made my second one and I felt like a pro. So really, I just encourage you to give it a try. It's a lot of fun. There's so many different ways that you could use it. You could have your piece on the front popping out from behind something. I mean, just the possibilities are endless, and it's so quick and easy to use. So again, I'm going to use this mask here as a faster way to cut everything out so I don't have to do any measuring or aligning on my piece that actually goes on the card front. And then you will notice that I wrote a little note to myself what pattern this is coming from and what pattern book. That way I just keep it in with my thin cut set, and the next time I want to make a card, if I want to use the same pattern, I already have that master mask ready to go. Okay, those top little pieces, I'm going to fold them over to make my circle or my frog legs, whichever way you like to think about it. Put those circle pieces through from the back side and then turn them back into a circle on the front. Hold that circle in place by putting a 3D foam dot over the top. Again, those big ones are the perfect size, and then they keep everything exactly where it needs to be. That's not coming through that slit again. Then we're going to take that little belly band piece, and it's got two different score lines on it, so I'm going to fold them. It makes a little piece like that. Add a little bit of adhesive to one of the flaps, fold it over. Okay, now we've got that band. Add a little bit of adhesive just to one side of it, and then stick it on. And so that adhesive is facing me right now. Put my stick all the way down to the bottom, all the way to the bottom. Hold it so that it's straight up and down, and then give that band a nice little push. And there it is now holding everything straight up and down, and our slider element moves nice and freely. Okay, I'm again going to stamp a little something at the bottom before I put any foam tape at the back. I was really worried I was going to forget and then have to mess up my stamping, but this one I stamped twice. I thought that was kind of fun to use both of the colors that are in my papers here. And then again with my 3D foam tape, I will create basically a U. So again, side to side and across the bottom, making sure that I'm not interfering with the movement of that piece. Okay, so now I do also really love this horse and the cat on the stamp set. They're so cute. And I thought that it would be fun if the cat was riding on the back of the horse. Okay, my cards still felt a little plain. I wasn't doing any stitching on this one. So I just went looking through my stash until I found just a tiny little lined design kind of stamp that I could stamp across the top of that pattern piece. And I found it in the, I think it's called the Scrappy Lady stamp set. And it's just a little something. And so I'm just going to stamp it in sapphire ink across the top, just to kind of add an extra little touch. Like I said, always looking for something that's fast and simple, but just trying to dress it up a little bit since I am going to take these in to sell. Okay, remove all of that foam tape and then stick it down where I want it to go. And it's okay that we have all of that extra blue cardstock coming up the top of our slider piece, because again, we can cut that off once we've got this adhered to the front of the card. Okay, so I'm going to make my cat ride on the back of the horse. So I'll put a little bit of adhesive there, stick them onto each other. And the other reason I decided to design this card this way is the cat also kind of helps to hide that slit on this panel, and then that way you can't see it as the horse is moving up and down. So it's kind of a twofer there. He was cute and he hid the slit. Okay, when the stick is pushed all the way down, I cut the excess off. Now this is yet another piece on here. It's this little circle on this thin cut. It's optional, you don't have to use it. But if you cut it out, it has a little arrow on it. So you can glue this to the top of your stick, and it's kind of like a little hint for your recipient to grab it and pull the arrow in that direction, and then they kind of find that, hey, this moves. That's a lot of fun. Okay, so again, the point of our Makers with Heart this month is to talk about projects, things that you could make for gifts or to sell at like a craft fair or something like that. I do make cards. I love making cards, and I sell them at that downtown store. This is how I package mine. I just get some of these little plastic sleeves off the internet, and I will leave that website link down below. And then I like to stamp a little something on the envelope just to dress it up as well. So I just restamped that pig and left him black and white. I tuck it all into that plastic sleeve so that you can see the decoration on the envelope on one side and the card on the other side. And that's pretty much it. So I hope you guys have enjoyed. If you have any questions about how to use that pull tab slider, please let me know. It really is such a fun interactive piece, and like I said, adds that extra little wow factor when I'm taking these cards in to sell at the store. All right, guys, yesterday was Lori's video and tomorrow is Kim's, so make sure you check out the other ladies who are participating in this video hop as well. Thank you so much for coming by my channel today to watch. I hope you're having an awesome day. Bye. Happy crafting.